CBS 46 News presents Public Affairs on Peach.
Are you looking for a little extra cash? Well, it might just be your lucky day. More than 224,000 Georgians are owed unclaimed property in the form of old stocks, bonds, or bank accounts. Today, we are letting you know what you need to do to get your hands on the money and other items that are rightfully yours. Good Sunday morning to you. I'm Adam Murphy, consumer investigative reporter for CBS 46, and we are here today to protect your money by getting it back in your hands. We contacted Georgia's Department of Revenue to work with them on a positive story about unclaimed property a few weeks ago. During the process, we learned that our state is doing very little to connect citizens with their lost property. However, in other states, revenue officials are being much more proactive. Here is our investigative report, courtesy of my colleague Jeff Jericho.
There's funds for Fort Wayne, simoleons for South Bend.
Across the country,
I'm Colorado Treasurer Walker Stapleton.
State leaders herald unclaimed property.
I love finding ways to give people their money back.
At state fairs,
If you checked your unclaimed property, we just have another winner.
And on YouTube to connect folks
$500
with their forgotten funds.
And that's what the Great Colorado Payback is all about.
But here in Georgia, nothing. Department of Revenue Commissioner Douglas McGinnity has been so quiet about his office's duty to return cash to Georgians, he didn't want to talk to us about it.
We are at the Georgia Department of Revenue Unclaimed Property Vault.
Instead, his spokesman, Nick Genesi, met with us to show the rows of boxes containing items once stored in abandoned safe deposit boxes.
This could contain grandmother's birth certificate. This could contain a rookie baseball card, or it could contain a valuable piece of jewelry.
There's also $153 million in stocks, pension benefits, life insurance payouts, and more, whose owners or heirs can't be found. The department runs a website and mans a toll-free hotline to help you search for property.
We really try to go above and beyond to try to get that back to the rightful owner.
But after reviewing public records and national data, CBS 46 found Georgia does next to nothing to get the word out about your potential unclaimed treasures.
How do you compare Georgia's efforts to other states?
They don't make as much of a proactive effort as some of the other states.
Pennsylvania spent $1.3 million last year advertising unclaimed property. North Carolina, a more modest $40,000. Georgia, not a dime. Other states capitalize on free advertising like social media. Virginia's treasurer posts goofy memes on Facebook hoping for viral attention. Indiana's mascot, Buck the Money Dog, has a Twitter account. Georgia's Department of Revenue doesn't even write news releases.
The Department of Revenue hasn't written a news release in 7 years about unclaimed property.
Okay.
I mean, this is free. Do you not think that the Department of Revenue could maybe put out more news releases to let people know?
Well, sure, we could put out more news releases, but we also broadcast on our website that people can go on to search for their unclaimed property.
Georgia also drags out the process of collecting your funds. It's one of only 6 states that doesn't allow you to start the process online.
Would you say that connecting people with their property is just not a priority for the Department of Revenue?
Oh, I think it's a priority. We returned over $16 million worth of unclaimed property last year to Georgians alone.
That's about 10% of all the unclaimed property the state holds. So what happens to all the uncollected money? It's placed in the general fund, and state lawmakers spend it. Some say leaving them with no incentive to let you know they have it. We brought our findings to State Senator Charlie Bethel of the Government Oversight Committee.
Would you be supportive of spending any amount of money to increase the outreach on unclaimed property here in Georgia?
I don't think I personally would be supportive of that kind of investment. Certainly if we're talking about improvements to websites, if we're talking about using social media, and I think those are appropriate outreach measures.
Now, joining me now is Kimberly D. Carrera, an Atlanta-based attorney, and she specializes in unclaimed property. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us on the show. First off, tell me a little bit about how long you've been practicing and what exactly you do.
Thank you, Adam. I am an unclaimed property attorney with Barganier & Associates. I've been with them going on 5 years now. And with Barganier & Associates, I represent the companies that report unclaimed property to the various states.
Okay, and so you've been working on this for quite a while. Let's talk about Georgia here. Tell people what unclaimed property is and how this happens.
Unclaimed property is going to be a variety of lost bank accounts, insurance, policies, life insurance and health insurance. You're going to have utility deposits, stocks and dividends. There's all sorts of different types of money that's out there for you.
Does this happen when people move primarily and maybe lose track? They've gone to another location and they switch to a different account, let's just say, with a company, and that company can't locate them, then they turn the money over to the state. Is that sort of how it works?
It could be when people move, it could be when people die, and it could just be record keeping. For whatever reason, your mail gets lost.
And so how do people find unclaimed property? Because as you saw in that report, it appears very little is being done here by the state of Georgia to inform the public about how to do that.
The best way is to go to each of the state websites. Georgia has its own website. You can go right there and search online, put your name in, and see if you have any unclaimed property.
You had mentioned to me off camera the easiest thing to do really that you can do right now is Google Georgia unclaimed property, and then the first thing that will pop up is the state's website. And it's as simple as putting your name and the city where you are at or where you may have been, and it'll tell you, right?
Correct, although I do recommend that you try to make it as broad-based search as you can. Don't limit to your city because they may have changed the city names. We've had a lot of incorporations here in Georgia as the cities have changed names. So make it as broad-based as you can.
I have noticed in looking at this long list of over 200,000 Georgians that often it will even say unknown as far as a location or city. So to your point, it's very important to put in your name and keep it simple too when you put your name in. You might even want to put just your first name or your last name and leave the city open and see if something pops up.
Yes, also look for common misspellings of your name. For my last name, for example, they'll make it 2 words. They'll put the D-E and then the Carrera as a separate. So look for those common misspellings or changes to your names.
And when you're on the State Department of Revenue's website, if you have trouble searching online, do you recommend calling?
I recommend calling, although you might have difficulty getting a hold of somebody. This is still a government operation.
And so things take time. And talking about taking time, what's the process like? Once you inform them, they find you, they tell you what you're owed or where it's coming from, and oftentimes, most of the time, it's money, which is great.
Right.
How do you go through the process? Is it a quick process to get your money, get the check from the state?
It is not a quick process. It's a 2-step process where you will submit basically saying, this is me, I want my money back. Then Georgia's going to go through and look at it, make sure that it's your money, that you're entitled to it. Then they will send you claim forms that you'll fill out and send back to them.
So it's very old-fashioned here, not necessarily all online.
Correct.
You got to go through snail mail and wait for the paperwork to show up, fill it out, send it back in, and just follow the process. How is that with other states? Are other states a little more advanced in their process of returning money?
Yes. A lot of states allow you to go directly submit the claim online or at least fill out the paperwork and then send it in without waiting for them to verify that you're entitled to the money.
Give me an example of another state maybe where somebody has been able to get their money back in a really quick fashion.
To be honest with you, one of our clients just submitted one 2 weeks ago, and they already have a check from the state of Kentucky.
And so in 2 weeks, boom, check.
Yes.
That's really amazing because I know I've spoken with a lot of people that were on the list that have filed the paperwork, and we're talking now, I mean, going on a couple of months, some haven't even gotten the paperwork from the state.
Correct.
Let alone a check.
Yes.
So what is it that you do as a lawyer in this area, in this profession? How do you help people?
Well, my clients are the companies that report the unclaimed property. So they find out that they have lost contact with some of their customers or some former employees, and then they try to reach out to them. State law requires that they send letters to people that have potential unclaimed property. These letters say, if you don't respond, we're going to send it to the state. So we manage that process for the companies, and then we prepare the reports that send it to the states.
Okay. And so, Kimberly, let's take a step back here, and I go back to a comment that you made in the report that we just saw. You talked a little bit about how other states are being more proactive. What's your take on the way the state of Georgia, the Department of Revenue in Georgia, is handling this process? Can they do more, in your opinion?
They can do more. They don't do a lot of outreach to find people that have unclaimed property, but they also don't do a whole lot of outreach to the companies that report it. So there could be more being reported to the state.
Hence why we're doing this show today, to let you know you may be on that list you see right there. We're going to tell you more about how you can find out what may be owed to you. It could be a nice check, folks, so you want to stick with us through the half hour. Now, if you want to check to see, of course, you have that unclaimed property in your name, you can log on to the website you see right there, etax.dor.ga.gov, and then look under unclaimed property. The phone number, 855-329-9863. You can call to the Department of Revenue. And of course, you can go to cbs46.com, click on the news tab, and then web links after that, and you'll see the link over. It's very simple. We're going to have more on this when we come back. CBS 46 was able to track down some people that were owed unclaimed property. Boy, were they happy. We're going to show you that reaction coming up after the break on Public Affairs on Peach.